I'm surprised that you've just singled out Cameroon. You could have talked about other countries as well.
But Cameroon had to be singled out.
Exactly. Cameroon is a Commonwealth member state. Paul Biya has been in power since 1982. The Anglophone crisis has claimed thousands of lives. There are long-running questions around elections, civic space, press freedom, and political succession.
And that is why this conversation matters. The Commonwealth speaks about democracy, human rights, rule of law, and peace. But many people are asking whether it's doing enough when member states are accused of failing those same values.
We do not have a whip, so to speak, where countries are concerned. There are processes, and one such process is the Secretary General's good offices, where you engage the countries and engage the different structures within the countries.
So as we've heard, no quick punishment. The Commonwealth says it works through engagement, quiet diplomacy, and governments.
But that is where the problem begins. What happens when the same governments the Commonwealth is working with are the ones young people are running away from?
And that brings us to migration. Across Europe, African migrants are often treated as the problem. But many are fleeing unemployment, insecurity, failed governance, climate pressures, and lack of opportunities.
We need to deal with the root causes of why these our people, and whether it's Africans or whoever, leave the shores to go.
So today we are asking two simple questions. Is the Commonwealth still fit for purpose in a world where democracy is highly under pressure?
And are African young people actually feeling its impact, or are they only hearing common promises?
As you can see, that's what we are looking at Under the Baobab today. Hi, George.
I like it the way you start. Hi, George. How bitter is your drink today?
It tastes like Cameroon a little bit, I should say. Bitter.
What do you mean,
Heavy.
Cameroon? How would a drink from Cameroon taste bitter?
Bitter, really bitter. Even difficult to swallow, honestly.
I'm sure you're bringing up that because of maybe the concerns that, emanated from the interview you had with the Commonwealth Secretary General, touching on Cameroon, and we know the, happenings down there.
Right, because when we had a conversation, we had to talk about some of the domestic pressures, particularly political pressures that we are seeing in the country today, the rule of law, democracy, and so on. And Cameroon is not, outside Commonwealth looking in. It's actually a member state, yet the country continues to grapple with serious problems like, the Anglophone crisis. President Paul Biya has been in power since 1982, and we are speaking now. Maybe when the show goes out, we are still hoping that he will be back in the country, but he's currently in Switzerland. So because of the Anglophone crisis that I just mentioned, a lot of people are displaced in the country. So all is not well.
Well, many people would appreciate, I'm sure even the people following this particular episode would appreciate that in 2026, Cameroon approved a constitutional amendment creating a vice president appointed and dismissed by the president.
Right.
And critics argue it could, concentrate power under the presidency. And this was a major problem in Cameroon.
That's a fear of so many people. But, when Commonwealth now is saying that it's standing for democracy, for rule of law, for human rights, the respect of human rights and peace. Cameroon is currently the biggest test now because it puts to question some of these values that the Commonwealth actually stands for.
Yeah, but we should, of course, begin the show, Mimi, and then before bringing today's guests, I think it's good to hear from you, our viewers. As you've always said, that this show is centered with your comments, and you shape this particular community. Now, following previous conversation with Nigeria's defense minister on insecurity, many of you argued that insecurity requires more than military solutions. And as the normal ritual, we go through your views and we mention them right here at the beginning of the show. And I'll begin with this comment from one of our followers, Mimi, 4-year-day 456, is saying tackling complex insecurity problems in Nigeria requires a massive shift from purely reactive military operations to a whole of government approach, because the security threats vary by region. Military force alone is not enough.
And we also have this comment from Fab Mario, who says that a comprehensive strategy to address Nigeria's insecurity effectively involves several critical components. Well, he didn't tell us detailing what these components are. But it's also a very important comment there.
Of course, that is appreciated, and we keep on inviting you to, comment and be part of the conversations we are having. Mm-hmm. And today's conversation comes in right there, and insecurity, migration, unemployment, and weak democracy are not separate issues. They are connected, Mimi.
And of course, that's why we are today talking to a very powerful woman. We are welcoming her Under The Baobab today to ask her some of these questions that are related to, the rule of law in Africa. But first, it's very important to say who I am. I am Mimi Mefod Neu, before we get carried away. This is Under The Baobab.
Of course, and my name is Jojo Kachi. On this show, we take Africa's biggest questions and put them directly to the people with power, influence, and responsibility.
And we also make them personal. So, like we said, our guest today is Shirley Ayorkor Botchwey. She is a Ghanaian politician, diplomat, and lawyer who became the 7th Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations. That was on the 1st of April, 2025. So she's been in office for more than 1 year already.
Yes, and of course, this was massive. I remember after her election, she went back to Ghana and everybody was celebrating. Mm-hmm. And now she is also the first Black African woman to lead the organization, which brings together 56 countries. And I should underline the word voluntarily. Mm-hmm. And 2.7 billion people, the majority of them being young people in Africa.
So when we are saying 56 countries, yes, we know that more than 20 of them are from Africa.
Could be 27 or about 30.
Right. Yeah. But this conversation is not about symbolism, the office itself. It's about whether Commonwealth still matters to Africans, particularly young people looking for democracy, young people looking for opportunities and accountability when it comes to their leaders. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do here under the Baobab, right? We ask the accountability questions. And that was also, the line of our discussion with the Commonwealth Secretary General.
Of course, whereas we've pointed out and insisted that it's a voluntary, formation, and maybe one would wonder why we're asking accountability questions to them. I feel like it still matters because our governments, most of the governments, are signing to this particular entity, and it's lost within the conversation as to what they actually do. Mm-hmm. And when you spoke to the Secretary General, I'm sure you asked her about Cameroon, countries like Cameroon,
right,
countries like, Gabon, or even the Sahel, some countries in the Sahel, right, which are members of the Commonwealth. Things are not happening as maybe the majority of the population are expecting.
Yeah, you've talked about signing in voluntarily.
Yes.
That particular word, I always find it very difficult to pronounce. But then there are clauses, there are laws that bring together all Commonwealth member states. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to respect certain values to belong in the Commonwealth. And is this the case? And when it's not the case, what happens? That is the question that I put to the Secretary General.
I'm surprised that you've just singled out Cameroon. You could have talked about other countries as well. But let me assure you that we are engaging countries, and it's been done even before I joined. We do not have a whip, so to speak, where countries are concerned. There are processes, and one such process is the Secretary General's good offices, where you engage the countries and engage the different structures within the countries, which we are doing, we continue to do. Also, like I said, the Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group that sits on issues, and you will not find that they will sit on an issue and then immediately crack the whip and in your case, what you said, suspend a member state.
So what would Cameroon have to do before suspension becomes a serious option here? Because we are talking about a country where human rights violations are happening. People are unjustly arrested. People are being killed for speaking out. So when will it happen before suspension becomes an option in a country like Cameroon?
That will be the last part of the process if the demands of the CMAG are not met. So please be patient, and these are issues that have come to the attention of the Ministerial Action Group of this secretariat and are being done. If you recall, when the issues in Gabon happened, they were suspended, and we helped them throughout the transition to correct all the wrongs, and they are back in the Commonwealth at the moment.
And I wanted to find out from you, where does the Commonwealth actually get to draw the line? Where do you come in?
Issues happen or problems come, but we help countries solve them, and that is the way it should be. And the question also that you should be asking is, you mentioned that the president has been in government for a very long time. What does the Constitution say? These are all issues that are looked at, and they may not be as simple as you make it out to be. But I can assure you that the Commonwealth makes sure that countries that have voluntarily signed on to our charter abide by the rules of the charter, and whatever we can do to ensure that this happens, first of all, we do, and secondly, we help them get back on track.
Of course, that's a very important role that the Secretariat, plays, helping countries get back on track and to the adherence of the charter that has been signed by the countries. If you join Commonwealth, it simply dictates that you should, conform to some certain and specific values that this particular entity stands for. And
I heard the Secretary General talking about, the Constitution is there.
Yes.
But what happens when they are, they are in the same country where the Constitution is being used as a tool for longevity in power? The same country is violating the values of Commonwealth.
That is where people talk about, double speak. But of course, Mimi, Under The Baobab.
Time to lighten the conversation. Time to lighten the mood a little bit Under The Baobab. That's what we do as well.
Yes, and we do it on a very special segment called the Rapid Fire segment. Here we go.
Would you prefer the English breakfast or wachi?
Oh, definitely wachi at any time.
Okay. What is that one secret ingredient in your career that makes you stand out?
I think my ability to listen to people carefully rather than quick to talk and impose on others that I'm dealing with.
So what job would you be doing if you were not the Secretary General of the Commonwealth of Nations?
Let's not forget that I'm past retirement age per the Ghanaian constitution. And so I probably will be relaxing, spending time with my family and my grandchildren. That would be very nice.
Oh, great. Heels or comfortable flats during summits?
Oh, flats. You need to be comfortable.
So what music genre do you dance to nonstop during your leisure time?
Okay, so I'm a Shatawale fan. I'm a Shatawale fan. I love Davido as well. Actually, there's so many of them that I really like. But
we can't believe that we made her laugh like she forgot about the real conversation, and she was very happy with the rapid fire segment also.
I mean, that's the beauty about, Under The Baobab. We also we're not asking just accountability questions, but we're getting to know the other side of the guest, because it's also very important, because knowing your private side informs how you even maneuver or operate publicly.
And above all, it relaxes, the mood Under The Baobab. So back to the conversation.
Yes.
Some people may see the Commonwealth as a platform for opportunities. Others may see it as disconnected from their daily lives,
Yes, and our viewers should know that it matters, because if people in member states do not know what the Commonwealth is doing for them, then institution has lost its relevance,
So So really, what is the Commonwealth doing to, people in the member countries, to young people? How is it benefiting them? These are some of the questions that our correspondents in Ghana, Ajoa Nana Ellen, and also in Cameroon, Bo Stella, put to people on the streets to find out from them what the Commonwealth actually means.
When I hear Commonwealth, I think of the extension of British influence, an attempt to continue to exert the influence of Britain as a colonial power. Specifically, the Commonwealth hasn't had an impact on my life as an individual, but I think it has had some impact on the lives of young people in Cameroon, for instance, in the sense that I've read about scholarships, I've read about focus on skills and other issues, even though they might not be massive enough, but I think it has had some impact on the lives of Cameroonians.
I want to see it develop a center of excellence where we have children or persons that are the best in their fields chosen by teachers who have been able to teach these peoples or these students for a long time. And they can tell you that these people are outstanding and take them all into a center of excellence right here on home soil, where they can be able to replicate this and, of course, teach other people. Going to the UK to study is not a bad idea, but over time, I don't think that the transfer of knowledge has really happened as intended.
The Commonwealth, first of all, should diversify their activities. In some of the African countries who are members of the Commonwealth, most of the activities or interventions rest strictly at the level of the national office, at the level of the administration, at the level of the government. And they have streamed down activities which they do that is not effectively felt at the grassroots.
I would say usually when I hear the Commonwealth, it's more about games. At the moment, it's hard to pinpoint anything that you could say maybe this is as a benefit of the Commonwealth.
More times I hear in the news, they've been donating monies to the health sector, education sector, environmental sector. So since Ghana is part of the Commonwealth, any donation that comes from that association, Ghana benefits from that.
Yeah. So generally, Mimi, when you listen to those, sound bites or from the people we spoke to from Cameroon, you mentioned also that one of them was your secondary school teacher.
Yes, I was so pleased to see him, John Menkefoya.
He is invited to be a part of the Under the Baobab community. Anyway, you should call him. But anyway, back to the subject matter. What they're basically saying, there is some sort of knowledge of the existence of Commonwealth as an entity or as an institution, right? But there is a feeling that its impact is not being felt. Yeah. Even as much as Commonwealth is saying they are representing 2.7 billion people.
And that's a lot of people, They are in these African countries, not just... Because when I was discussing with the Secretary General, it's not just like they're working directly with the governments, but they also engage with the communities because they have representatives on ground. But also about the question of, the Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group, which can respond to serious violations like irregularities, denial of political space, the human rights abuses and restrictions on the media. There are also questions about whether this action group is doing enough also on the ground.
I'm interested to know what our listeners or viewers think about this. And on paper, that sounds strong. But on the ground, Africans are asking harder questions. When opposition figures are arrested, journalists are intimidated, elections are disputed, constitutions are violated to keep power concentrated, and civic space keep shrinking. Where is the Commonwealth? I'm glad that you've brought in all of these examples, but let's be very specific when we are talking about them. In the case of Cameroon, for instance, in the early days of the Anglophone crisis, the former Secretary General, Patricia Scotland, visited Cameroon and, promised that they were going to see what to do about the conflict, and it's now 10 years after.
and there is still violence on the ground. Nothing has changed. There was a petition that was sent to the Commonwealth of Nations, asking the Commonwealth to suspend Cameroon from the entity. It's never happened. No response. The people who wrote the petition have never gotten a response. We also have cases where the Commonwealth has intervened in Gabon, for instance, in the 2023 coup d'etat that took place in the country.
They suspended Gabon,
and then later restored, and also we have also Zimbabwe, I had to jot some of these issues down, so I have to look at them so that I'm very specific when I'm talking about them. We had the 2023 presidential elections in Zimbabwe, where the Commonwealth Observer openly said that there was a lot of irregularities with regards to the election. There was problems with credibility, there was problems with transparency. But the question actually is, when these observers write these reports, who enforces them?
And that's a very, very, very critical question. Do the member states have responsibility to abide by what Commonwealth is giving as recommendation?
Let's hear what the Secretary General told us.
So we have the criteria for the CMAG, where if there are issues, we will then take these issues to the CMAG, and it will be discussed by ministers. So ours is to prepare what infractions have happened, and then we take it to CMAG. And in many cases, there's been engagements. And even I have engaged where I believe there has been some infractions. I've engaged, but some of these engagements are engagements that are done behind the scenes rather than being done openly. So let's not ever think that nothing is being done.
When does quiet diplomacy become too quiet?
In many of the cases, my role is to ensure that we uphold the charter, encourage constructive dialogue among the Commonwealth Secretariat and the member country, and support efforts that advance our shared values. And in some of these cases, we go in, we work with civil society, we work with the media, we work with the arms of government to make sure that we strengthen the governance systems of these countries so that this doesn't happen.
So many people see the Commonwealth as a talking shop for former British colonies. You have been in this office since April 2025, and many people want to find out what Madam has really done in terms of giving back to the African communities that are members of the Commonwealth.
So the first that I can talk about is the Youth Awards, and what it's done to showcase youth initiatives. What we are also doing at the moment is we've set up an endowment fund, an aspiration fund, raising 300 million from private sector, from philanthropy, from foundations, that will go towards skilling, digital skilling of young people. We are in the process of doing that. Then we've set up another 700 million climate fund so that countries can move from fossils to renewable energy. In there will be jobs for young people. But let me say that the Commonwealth works with governments, with institutions. The youth, we empower the youth through the Commonwealth Youth Council, through the Commonwealth Youth Program that we have to engage young people. We also engage young people through the Youth Forum at Chogums to make sure that we put them together and their aspirations.
And as always, your voices always matter the most in these conversations. And we asked you on our Facebook page, DW Africa, what role should the Commonwealth play in African countries? Should it continue relying on quiet diplomacy, or should it speak out more forcefully when member states face governance challenges?
And very good question there. And we had this response from Mark Rodin Kulada. He says that the Commonwealth should continue its quiet diplomacy, and I think it's effective. Zimbabwe and Nigeria are good examples, but to make it more attractive, it should be able to help its poorer member states with economic support and expertise.
Ransom Ramsey Musa, you're saying values that stay silent when they are needed most become slogans. Sometimes quiet diplomacy preserves relationships, but it can also preserve broken systems. Real partnership, Mimi, underline, real partnership should be felt by ordinary citizens, not just discussed in conference rooms.
That's a good one there. And we have Ron Dell, who says that should Africa still be in the Commonwealth? This is 2026, almost 100 years after.
Yo.
The questions go back to you all there watching Under the Baobab. Should Africa really still be part of the Commonwealth? But the conversation also has to continue, because democracy is not an abstract issue. When institutions fail, people are losing trust in these institutions, and some may lose hope completely.
Yes, and you know what happens when people lose hope? Then
Tell me, Judge.
They flee from their countries, and some seek for opportunities elsewhere.
Exactly, and that brings us to the migration issue, often discussed in Europe as a border problem. But for many Africans, it begins long even before they reach the Mediterranean Sea, where we see some of them, or even, in Spain, Italy, where some of them arrive.
Of course, there are a lot of underlying issues. We're talking about, insecurity. It begins with unemployment. People are following where, where the money is actually, an infrastructure. And it begins with climate shocks, bad governance, weak economies, and a feeling that no matter how hard you work, the system is not just working for you. And I'm pretty much interested to know what Madame thinks about, this sticking issue about migration.
What is the Commonwealth actually doing on its part? Let's hear what she told us.
I believe this is why for us building resilience within the Commonwealth is important. We talked about the push factors. Most of the migrants, those who leave their countries, they are economic migrants. There are very few who would say that they're politically being persecuted and therefore they leave their countries. But migration is something that forever will be with us. Now, it is a big issue at the moment because of the economies. If we're able to build resilient economies where young people are assured of education, skills, and jobs, they will not want to go.
I wanted to find out from you what the Commonwealth is actually doing about this, and whether it is willing to spend, political capital on the causes of people fleeing from some of these conflict-affected countries.
We are helping governments to build resilience, to increase trade and investment. At the moment, intra-Commonwealth trade is 900 billion. We're moving it to 2 trillion. In there, young people will find jobs. In there, young people will ensure that they have a future. We are building climate resilience. Within the climate space, there's a lot of jobs for young people. And that is why we are creating funds that will help young people in terms of digital skilling, in terms of making sure that they have vocational skills, and not just that, but in terms of ensuring that they have seed funds. We need to deal with the root causes of why these our people, and whether it's Africans or whoever, leave the shores to go. It's a drain on our economies, because these are people who ordinarily would contribute to the development of our countries. And if we lose them, we're losing brain drain and all.
Well, a lot to sit with as we close today's discussion. The Commonwealth says it stands for democracy, human rights, youth empowerment, and peace. We've discussed that during this show. But can citizens across Africa actually feel the impact? So, We want to hear from you. Is the Commonwealth still relevant in Africa, or has it become more about summits and statements than real change?
And should it continue relying on quiet diplomacy or be more willing to hold member states publicly accountable?
Drop your thoughts in the comments, and also don't forget to challenge us. Challenge the guest as well, challenge the institution, and even us here under the Baobab. But keep the conversation very honest.
And if you desire more raw, sharp, and unapologetic African conversations on politics, power, society, sports, what you need to do is just to subscribe Under the Baobab on DW Africa YouTube page.
We can also take us with you. You can also take us with you, rather, and watch the full audio episodes that are available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Exactly. I wanted to say genau, but that is in German. But exactly. But until next time, keep questioning power under your own baobab tree. I am George Okachi.
And my name is Mimi Mefo Neu. See you next time.